Being in the fire of extreme discomfort can move us to change. Hi, I am finally getting back to responding to this question that I asked a while back, which is, do people change? And those of you who responded on here are so right on in every direction about answering that question. So today I just want to share a few thoughts that I have about change and a little bit about what I've seen in my life. So sometimes, as some of you commented, people don't change. Some people live in patterns of relating and ways of being that they've done for years, and they're really content in that, as most of us are, and they continue to live in those patterns and ways of relating forever and ever, and sometimes until the day they die. They don't change, and that's true. Some people don't change. It's so sad for those of you who've experienced this, and hopefully some of you haven't yet, when you go to a funeral and there are people there that don't have anything good to say about the person that died. Like, it's just terrible. You think, oh my gosh, like, you know, don't they have anything good to say about them? That this person was angry and bitter and resentful, maybe abusive, and so nobody has much good to say about that person. And that's just heart-wrenching and sad and terrible that those people never changed and never grew and never repaired relationships and died in despair. Like, how heart-wrenching and sad. And we certainly don't want to be one of those people. Just a short time ago, like in the late 80s, okay, a long time ago, when I was in graduate school, they said that much of our personalities are ingrained and set by about the time we are 3 years old. And that was pretty discouraging when you think about change. You know, if our personalities are set by the time we're 3, what hope do we have for doing anything different? But although there's certainly parts of that statement that are true, like, yeah, there are some genetic predispositions that we are born with that are part of our DNA and our wiring initially, that look as though we are set, or that these are, you know, a part of us from early on. It can look like that. In fact, some of those predispositions actually were there upon conception, if I could say it that way. Also, it might also appear that even certain ways of functioning and relating in those first 3 years of life kind of set a pattern in us pretty quickly, pretty early on, and it might look like those are set or ingrained within us. In fact, some of us often think that is just me, even when it was something that was learned in our relationships with our parents. It can look like it is set, and it can look like it can't change. But I want to tell you that amazingly, some people really do change. A lot, actually. There is incredible new information out there in science about this word called neuroplasticity. Some of you have heard of it, some of you have read about it. And basically what they're saying is that our brains actually have an ability to shift and rewire and change and shift tracks, and are moldable all the way through our lives, far beyond 3 years old. That we literally can change. It's unbelievable and miraculous. And I do have to say that is exactly what I've seen in my lifetime in the work that I do with others and the work that I have done in myself with others. It's pretty incredible that change is a possibility and that change can happen, but it's definitely not a given. It doesn't mean that just because it can happen that it will happen, because for many, some, it does not happen, as we just talked about. So the reasons why people change are as varied as our different inborn personalities, like some of those DNA things that we talked about, our life experiences, whether or not we can learn from our mistakes and our experiences, what we learn, our resources, whether it be financial or emotional or relational, to get help, our tolerance for pain, our motivation, and many more. There's a lot of factors that play into why we do or don't change. So, when we change, if we change, how does this take place? How does this happen? In general, we change when we are in enough pain or distress or discomfort that we can't take it anymore and we're ready to do something different. That primes us for change. Pain is a motivator. Being in the fire of extreme discomfort can move us to change. Now, this can also happen when someone that we love is in enough pain. Now, this does require that we are capable of loving someone else that much to be motivated to change for them. So I've met people who are tired of being so down and discouraged or tearful or unmotivated, numb, depressed, that they have a hard time getting out of bed. They have a hard time keeping jobs. And they come in and they're like, I don't want to keep living like this anymore. I want to do something different. I want to figure this out. They look in the mirror and they go, I want to live differently. Or I've met people who have been extremely anxious, where that anxiety has spiraled downward, and little by little, they find themselves moving out into the world less and less. They start kind of turning inward and isolating and shutting down, and that anxiety grows, and sometimes they feel like they're going to have a heart attack, and their body's reacting as though they are, and they're scared, and they finally come in going like, this is not getting better, this is getting worse. I got to do something about that. That pain and that distress is motivating. Like, I don't want to keep living life like this. I want to live it better. I remember when life was much better, and I want to find that life again. Or I've known people who have been in painful relationships, where one relationship after another, they either repeat the same patterns over and over, or they kind of do the opposite thing. They do one pattern of relationship, and then they get in a relationship with someone else, and then it's the opposite pattern. Then they go back to the original pattern. Sometimes I've met people 3 and 4 marriages down the line, and they come in, and it's this incredible moment where they look in the mirror and they go, wait a minute, like, I'm the common denominator. Like, I'm the same person who's been in all these relationships. Maybe it's me. Maybe I need to look at me and work on me. Maybe it's not just them. And that's an incredible place for a possibility for change. I've also seen people who have been on the verge of losing someone really important to them, spouse or loved one or partner or parent, or child, or someone who is losing their job, their reputation, their family, or all of that. And I have seen people hit the bottom of the possibility of losing someone, something, their career, whatever, so significant that they actually change. So I knew this woman once who was pretty self-centered and pretty arrogant. And most of her life really circled around pretending to people outside of her family. She was friendly, and generous, and happy-go-lucky, but at home, she was very different. She was devaluing, she was critical, she was very controlling, she was demeaning, she was cruel to her children and her husband. And little by little, both of her children began to set boundaries with her, and she got worse, and eventually they had to cut off relationship with her. And finally, her husband had a heart attack and almost died. And miraculously, this woman hit bottom. And she came to her children and she literally said she was wrong, which was amazing. And she turned a new leaf. And her kids, forgave her, and they reconciled, and to this day, they are still in relationship with each other. So pain is an incredible motivator. And how much pain for some of us it takes to make change, sometimes it's a lot. And it's pretty painful. And some people experience a lot of pain and don't change. Kind of like we talked about in the beginning. It's different for everyone. So when we finally feel bad enough and we have the courage to look in the mirror and face the pain that we're living in, there is hope for change.